Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
It's not the greatest country in the world.
Finally, really did it. You maniac! I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore! You bring them death, and they will love him for it.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Hello, friends and enemies, and welcome to another episode of Recovery from Politics podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Frame, and today is Friday, November 8th, 2024. I can't believe it, but I am already seeing prominent Democratic establishment types making recommendations for 2028. Firstly, no women or black people, no queers, only straight white men, notably from swing states. They cannot be from a blue state. For fuck's sake, they tossed Fetterman's name into the bucket. Personally, I still think Buttigieg would make a great candidate, but per these early reports, he'd have a better chance challenging J.D. Vance for the Republican primary. By the way, I think he'd probably win that too. These idiots actually believe, if there is an election held at all in 2028, that the apparatus around that will allow for a free and fair election. Friends and enemies, there are plenty of countries in this world who call themselves democracies or republics that do not have free and fair elections. Sometimes the person running things just has his political opponent arrested, or shuts down the newspapers and arrests the journalists who don't suck him off on a daily basis. Look no further than American ally and NATO member Hungary. Viktor Orban regularly jails his political rivals and arrests journalists. He was welcomed by the Trump administration. Then there's Russia, who claims to be quite the democracy. They love voting over there. They love voting over there so much, Putin frequently wins with 110% of the vote. In my opinion, the Democrats are not going to save us. Much like Biden, they're still playing by the old rules. Yesterday, President Biden gave a typical passing of the torch speech, saying he wishes the incoming president well. Kamala Harris congratulated him on his win, offered her assistance during the transition, and says she hopes he will be for all Americans. Do these people not know who this man is? What he has done? If the shoe were on the other foot, he'd be marshaling his Proud Boys together for another assault on the Capitol. Remember, Biden did not receive a turnover. Trump forbade his administration from contacting their incoming counterparts. Had Biden had no experience in a White House before, the transition likely would have been disastrous. Trump also denied Biden and Harris their daily intelligence briefings. There was a very real moment where the United States was vulnerable to another major terrorist attack. But who cares, right? Hand him the keys to the White House and the nuclear codes. Never mind the fact Joe Biden has made multiple speeches about the very specific danger to democracy and stability around the world that Trump poses. Never mind he literally is the worst human being whom has ever lived, the most successful con man of all time. Never mind all the times Kamala brought up Project 2025 and all the horrible things that are within it. Never mind Christianity is about to be taught in every classroom across the country. Never mind RFK Jr. has said he is going to ban vaccine mandates in public schools. Just turn it all over. Joe Biden has an amazing faith in the American people that I don't think we've earned. We've repeatedly told Joe Biden who we are, but he just won't listen. He gambled on the decency of the American people and fucking lost. And I wish Joe and Kamala were outliers here. For any of you protest voters, guess who is still calling the shots for the Democratic Party today? Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Jeffries says he wants to work with the incoming administration to find bipartisan solutions to America's problems. Now, I know it was over 4 years ago, and I wasn't actually sitting in Congress like Hakeem here, but I don't recall all the times the Republicans gave two shits of a fuck about what the Democrats wanted. The only bipartisan bills were for COVID relief. Dems got nothing. Republicans got everything. Remember, the checks came with Trump's fucking name on them, and Dems didn't even fight over it because they knew they'd be painted as villains. The only future bipartisan bills passed in the future will be military spending and aid to Israel so it can keep killing Palestinian women and children. Meanwhile, Chuck Schumer is being begged on social media by Elizabeth Warren to call Congress back into session and railroad as many judges as they can through the confirmation process in an attempt to create a tiny judicial bulwark that will at least slow down the Trump agenda before it gets to the Supreme Court. I'm assuming Warren can call Chuck anytime she wants. She isn't on social media to convince us. Chuck is either not taking her calls or blowing her the fuck off. Indeed, some anonymous Democratic strategist is saying the party leadership is getting ready to jettison Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because they believe she is toxic to the centrist men they need going forward. And if they're targeting AOC, they're also gunning for Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. These motherfuckers actually believe 15 million white men stayed home because there were women speaking truth to power on their television screens. They stayed home because their lives are shit and the Dems kept telling them it isn't real, and the media is manipulating them into thinking things are tougher than they actually are. Look at the stock market, record highs. Look at unemployment, record lows. Someone said the best way to get these American males off their asses would be to put them into a union. Fuck that noise. They don't want union membership and higher wages. They're bored and need some excitement in their lives. Fuck it. Bring back the draft. Send these bored assholes to boot camp. Give them a rifle and send them back to the Middle East once Bibi Netanyahu gets his war with Iran. Clearly, we have a surplus of totally healthy, bored white men in this country. I know exactly how to fix that problem. And who gives a fuck what they think? They don't vote, so they don't matter. They cannot be bothered to save their country from becoming a fascist state under single-party rule, then we can bother them to go enforce capitalism onto a religious state in the middle of nowhere. How do you think we got into Vietnam? Some communists were pissing us off, and American men were likely to get bored following all the excitement of World War II and being the greatest country on the planet. There was too much peace and prosperity in their lives. But it also looks like my secession plan is already cooked. Gavin Newsom is already playing for 2028. He's called his legislature into session in an attempt to bulwark the Trump administration. Great, it's not nothing. It won't be enough. Guess what court oversees disputes between the states and the federal government? It's very specific and is about to be 7-2 Republican controlled. There is no way to win long-term in this system. It is broken. It is cooked. So glad Biden didn't pack the court when he had the chance. Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema might have switched sides. So there won't be any secession. There won't be any breakaway moment. As Dark Helmet famously said, this is why evil will always win, because good is dumb.